What is good, y'all? We are back. It is I believe week 4 of it's week 4 of the pre-prep diet. So we're trying to lose weight to get into a good position to do an actual full-fledged, bodybuilding prep. So we're doing a couple weeks of this, couple months actually, probably 2, 3 months of pre-prep dieting, trying to lose some fat, get a better body composition before we go into our actual, bodybuilding prep. And by doing this, it gives us time to actually, have like some diet breaks, some refeed type things, all this good stuff, so that it's not just like completely hardcore restricted calories all the way through. Instead, we're taking a kind of a longer approach, getting a pre-prep in place, doing the full prep, and hopefully coming in super shredded on stage and looking really good. But that said, we got a leg day today, so that's gonna be dope. Recently, actually, the last leg day I did, I something just seemed to click in my head. I don't know what it was, but I was able to shoot intensity up. Everything felt so much better. It was challenging, don't get me wrong, super hard, and I'm kind of grueling and miserable like during the workout. But I was able to push myself harder than I have in the past and really just like push some more intensity. And it made me realize that you always have more in the tank than you think, especially on legs. I mean, because definitely on like a push day or pull day, there is definitely a point where like there's only so much you can give. You know that. And most people I feel like can push a little bit harder on a push or pull day because it's usually more enjoyable movements. They like doing it. It's not quite as fatiguing. Whereas legs, I mean, they're massive muscles. Your legs in general are like your biggest muscles in your body. So it's very fatiguing to hit, and then it'll really definitely wear you out. You get pretty gassed while doing it, so sometimes it's just like that pain, that discomfort, and then even that fatigue, it sets in, and you give up a little before you think, or you give up where you think your failing point is, and you think you're done, but usually there's a little more left in the tank. And I always thought I trained hard until this last leg day that I did, where it just something clicked in me, and I pushed even harder, and I found that little bit more that I had. So hopefully today I'm able to get back in that same spot and really just push myself harder than I have before to really help those legs grow, because that's something on leg day you really gotta dig deep and push yourself, because you usually got more in the tank than you think. And legs, especially in bodybuilding, it's something that can really make you stand out, because especially in the amateur leagues, not many people are willing to hit their legs as much because it's uncomfortable. It hurts. It's more painful. It's not as fun as doing like a bench press. It's not as fun as doing some rows. It's not as fun as your curls. It's a little more intense, a little more grueling. So if you really push yourself and are willing to do that extra work, it will pay off, and you'll get some gnarly legs to show for it. But anyways, that said, I gotta get my intra carb going, which I'm still just doing the Gatorade powder, trying to get rid of it, and then Bum Essentials, code RShaFit for 10% off at rawnutrition.com. But still doing the Gatorade powder for my carb powder. I will be switching that up once I'm out of this stuff, but I'm still not out yet. So that is what we got now. Still 30 grams of this. So let's pop that in there. I already had my pre-workout meal. Hasn't changed. It's chicken, rice, um, avocado, and one large Honeycrisp apple, which I have right here. I'm going to eat that before I leave. But actually, a little update for you. Things haven't been just staying the same as far as where I'm at. I have changed up cardio. I'm doing 20 minutes 3 times a week rather than 15 minutes 4 times a week. So still overall, the course of the week, same amount of cardio. It's an hour of cardio a week as of right now, but just kind of change it up how frequently it's done. Expenditure, so basically how many steps I'm getting a day, we just bumped up. It's still nothing crazy. It's only like 8,500 a day, so nothing crazy. Living in the Midwest, it's a little challenging in the winter right now. So when it's warm, I try to get outside, walk as much as I can with my dog and everything. But otherwise, I've been doing a lot of pacing around my apartment. So that's just the price you pay. But you do what you do to get your steps in. And then food has decreased ever so slightly, just because scale weight started to plateau a little bit, and we want to keep pulling off this body fat and kind of reducing weight. But kind of feels more like a recomp to me, honestly. I feel like my physique is sharpened up just a little bit. It's not super noticeable, but a little bit. Even though my weight stayed the same, so more of a recomp. But we're still trying to lose some weight, lose some body fat. Like I said, it's the whole point of this pre-prep. So food came down a little bit, expenditure went up a little bit. We're gonna ride with this for a little bit, and then we'll see what coach says and how my body reacts, and we'll go from there. But All that said, I got to do my pre-workout, eat my apple, all that fun stuff, and then get to the gym to hit this leg day. So I'll catch you guys when I'm at the gym. All right, so the first movement I'm doing here on this leg day is actually some hip thrusts, some barbell hip thrusts. I do 2 top sets here, doing 1 heavy set and then 1 at like 6 to 8 reps, and then 1 set at 10 to 12 reps, a little bit lighter. I usually don't hit glutes directly. This is actually new for me, and I have never really done hip thrusts, but I'm liking it, and it's a good way to get your glutes up and make sure that your glutes aren't falling behind on your physique. But one thing here, try to keep those shins straight. Honestly, I'm going a little bit too deep on these, to be completely honest with you. You don't have to go as deep as I'm going. Once your knees kind of swing back, you can call it good there. But yeah, that's hip thrust. So after hip thrusts, we go into seated leg curls. So again, kind of hitting that posterior chain here. This leg day, I think, is pretty focused on posterior chain, but we still do hit some quads. But posterior chain, kind of glutes, hamstrings get hit first here. So doing some seated leg curls after our hip thrusts. And I just want to focus on controlling the weight here, not swinging around, getting good contraction, decent stretch, but also not sitting too long at the bottom or the top. Just continuous motion here. With these, I'm also doing 2 top sets. First set, I'm using heavier weight with a little bit lower rep range. And then the second set, you decrease the weight just a little bit and go for a little bit of a higher rep range, and pushing near failure on both of those top sets, near or to failure on both those top sets. Otherwise, there's not a ton here on leg curls. I mean, as long as you're locked to the machine, you got your knee kind of in line with that pivot point. It's a pretty easy machine and guides you straight through the motion. So not too many tips here. After leg curls, we go into some stiff-legged deadlifts. Again, like I said, these first couple moves, we're really trying to hammer that posterior chain, so we're hitting those glutes and those hamstrings. Big thing here, try to keep the knees fairly straight, let the hips kind of shift back, glide back. I like to think of either trying to touch the wall behind me with my glutes, or trying to kind of push, like imagine there's a dresser behind you and the drawer is open, and you're trying to push that drawer shut with your glutes. So you're kind of just leaning back, pushing that in, or almost like you're about to sit into a chair before you bend your knees. So you kind of sit back right before your knees bend as you're about to sit into a chair. Those are all some kind of things I think about, keep in mind as cues to help me on my stiff-legged deadlifts. Again here, 2 top sets. You're probably seeing the pattern here. We're doing 1 heavy top set, which you just saw, which is in the 6 to 8 rep range, and then our second one is a little bit lighter, and we go more for a 10 to 12 rep range. So that's a pretty common theme across most of my workouts and most of the movements in this specific workout as well, which you've probably been catching up on at this point. But I don't really have any other form cues. Just, try to keep those knees pretty straight, let those hips glide back, and when you bring it to the top, really contract those glutes and get a good squeeze. I've noticed it helps kind of take some pressure off that lower back. If you notice a little bit of lower back pressure when you're doing these, if you really squeeze the glutes at the top, it should help with that and help your form kind of be a little more solid. All right, we are now done with our glutes and hamstrings, our posterior chain. So now we're going on more to quad focused, and we're starting with some leg extensions. It helps to, get some blood in the quads and kind of warm the knees up a little bit before you get into more like heavy compound-esque movements. So starting with leg extensions, again, 2 top sets, 1 in kind of the 6 to 8 range, 1 in the 10 to 12 range, and then our second set will be 12 to 15. So here we have our second set, and this is that 12 to 15 set. One big cue I'm really working on here with my leg extensions is really pulling myself down. I've noticed that's helped me, push some weight and then connect more with my quads. So those handles there, I am squeezing them and really trying to pull my body through that. Like I'm trying to pull myself through the chair. And then obviously I keep the seat a little bit further back, just helps with a little bit more of a stretch. But here we do the longer set, we do the 10 to 12, like I said. Then as you can see, I'm adjusting the weight right now because we go into a drop set actually on this one. So we do 2 drop sets. So we finish this, we catch our breath a little bit, and then we jump straight into these drop sets as you see. So we'll jump right into those. So our next movement is a leg press, and as you can see, we're actually doing a single leg press. Again, 2 top sets. One top set in a 6 to 8 rep range, one in a 10 to 12 rep range. So, like I said, common theme, and that'll be just for the rest of these workouts, for the rest of these movements in this workout. So I'm gonna stop repeating myself and sound like a broken record. But with these single leg extensions, form wise, you want to make sure that your foot is as low on that foot plate as it can be without your heel coming off of it at the bottom of the movement. And then one thing that I actually used to mess up, because I always knew the cue, keep your feet low and your heel prevent it from coming up off the pad, and that would lead me to driving all the force through my heel, which would actually drive more of the focus of the movement into your hamstrings and glutes. If you want to drive more focus into your quad, keep that heel on the plate, but drive most of the force through the ball of your foot instead. And here on the second set, you can see me kind of doing that a little easier now because of the angle I set the camera up. You can see my heel is staying flat on that pad. It is not coming off, but I'm actually directing most of the force to move the weight up through the ball of my foot. And then obviously you want to make sure that your knees and everything are kind of almost going out over your toes. So get your foot angled on that pad, whatever's comfortable. However, like if you have to kind of turn your toes out or a little more in or straight, whatever's comfortable, and then make sure those knees go over the toes, which hopefully here on this next set you'll be able to see. So I don't know if you can tell or not in this clip, but if you can, I'm trying to kind of keep my knee in line with my feet, and I'm trying to get it to go over my toes, which it's getting about to my toes, maybe a little bit over, but the goal is to get it over those toes, and also you want to make sure your knees, stay strong, keep your knees strong. Don't let your knees bow in or really bow out. Just keep them locked in place and drive through that toe or the ball of that foot. Those are my biggest cues here. And then again, really hold on to those handles and pull yourself in the machine. It helps to drive a little bit more force through it. And last but not least for quads, we actually are finishing with some hack squat to just drive a little bit more volume through these quads and really push them through. We're obviously, as you can see, doing this with both legs. And same cues, honestly, as on leg press, I would say for hack squat, which is keep those feet as low as you can without your heels coming up off that pad, and then drive that force through the balls of your feet while keeping your knees kind of over toes, not letting your knees do anything weird. You don't want to let them kind of bow in or anything. Just make sure you're using weight that you can handle to not let your knees bow in or bow out, and kind of trace them over the toes, and then really drive through those balls of the feet here. No other real form cues here from me on these. Thing that did actually pop into my head just now is when you're coming down on these, you don't want to let your butt like curl up off the pad either. You want to keep your hips and butt kind of playing into that pad. So as you can see, I'm keeping everything locked on this pad and trying not to let anything curl up or come off the pad. You're pushing it straight through the quads. You don't want to like use your hip flexors or anything like that. So don't let your butt or glutes really curl up off that pad when you go down into the movement. And last but certainly not least, we end with some seated calf raises. Um, Seated calf raises are a very simple machine. You lock in place, you get the machine set, and you go. But the biggest thing that I always try to focus on here is making sure to get nice and deep into the stretch. There have been a lot of studies that show the calves are one of the muscles that really benefit from getting a nice deep stretch, and then obviously trying to get a nice good contraction, because that's like to work a full range of motion. But otherwise, there's really nothing else to calf raises. You just lift the weight and lower the weight with your calves, stay locked in the machine. Not too difficult. Okay, so I was just about to sit down and edit this video that you are currently watching and realized I never filmed. I'm trying to find somewhere to set up the camera. I never filmed an outro. So here's that. I don't really remember how the workout went that you just saw, given I recorded that like probably close to a week ago now. So unfortunately, I don't remember how it went, but I can tell you, grand scheme, big scale, whatever you want to say, in general, my workouts have been feeling really good. Everything's been going great. Can't complain. So yeah, that's all I got. I'm not gonna sit here and ramble too much because I don't really know what to ramble about. And this is just the outro. And I recorded this video a while ago, so I don't really remember all the details and things I was thinking or anything like that. But hope you enjoyed. And there'll be another video out next Monday, as always. So I'll catch you then. But anyways, have a great rest of your day or week whenever you're checking this video out, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.